Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. The person that I'm interviewing today is currently residing in one of my favorite countries in the world, Costa Rica. I went to Nosara, where Iva actually lives, and it's just a magical place. And that's a whole other topic and conversation for another episode. But Iva Paleckova is a top mindset and business coach, but also a best-selling author. But when I mean that she is a rock star, she's a rock star. And this is someone that went from barely getting by to earning over $1 million in 18 months. Now, that is not a fabrication. This is not a made-up story. You're going to hear it firsthand here. Okay. And all while doing this as a single mom of not just a child, a baby, an infant. So we always talk about living in a world of reasons and not excuses. And people need to leave their excuses at the door so the reasons can show up so you can really do bigger and better things. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So with that being said, Iva, welcome to today's program.
I am so thankful to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm more thankful to have you here because I know how much my audience is going to get from this. So I gave a couple tidbits of your story, but let's rewind the tape. Let's go back even further and share with the audience a little bit about who you are and kind of your business journey. But more importantly, I really feel in the entrepreneur journey that a lot of us that are on, and a lot of the people that listen to this are on, there's a pivotal moment. There's a moment in time. People call it the aha moment, the parting of the Red Sea, the light bulb moment, where it just all started to make sense that you should be going down a certain path. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, but more importantly, what was that lightning strike moment for you that has set you down the path that you're currently on?
Okay. Yeah, I will be as open as I can. So I'm a business coach, and right now I'm pretty successful, and we live in Costa Rica, and me and my daughter, and we have it's just a fabulous life. But when I take you back to 2019, business wasn't bad to begin with. I was going around the country in the States. I was doing speaking engagements. I was going to I was not like a big time speaker at all. I would go to like different tiny women organizations. I would do a little workshop, get people sign up to work or for a consultation. You know how this goes. You work with a bunch of entrepreneurs, right, in your program, and that's who are the people who are listening. So I would like go do a little workshop, invite people to sign up on a consultation. I would talk to them and close them into one-to-one coaching. And I did that for a while. I absolutely loved it. I love traveling. I actually got an RV and I said, I'm going to explore the country. In 2019, I visited 30 different states. I went to a whole bunch of national parks. I actually was traveling with somebody, with the love of my life at the time. We were doing some coaching together as well and writing books together. And it was just the dream life, quite frankly. I wasn't making a lot of money, it was like client here, client there, but it was fine, my 5-10K months or whatever. And it was all good and great. Until on July 1st, 2019, I found out I was pregnant, which I did not think it was going to happen after 10 years of, trying and not getting there. And 4 days later, on July 5th, 2019, he disappeared. Never saw him again. Never talked to him again. Moved to Japan. The following week, blocked me on all social media, never heard from him since. Okay. So there I was. I mean, as depressed as you can imagine. My first thought was, who is the kind of person who gets abandoned after 3 days of pregnancy? There was so much guilt and shame. I can't even tell you. Like my worthiness, how I feel about myself, my energy, like everything. It was just, I was destroyed. I was destroyed. Right. And then, I got really sick too, just from pregnancy. So the idea of continuing driving around the country and doing speaking engagements, it's like, no, that's not happening. Right. So during that time, I said, okay, I'm going to be a single mom. This is crazy. I have no parents living in the country. My imposter syndrome, it was so like, I couldn't even explain to you the mindset hole that I was in. I did not think I was worthy even living anywhere. Like I didn't even want to go move back to Boulder. I had so much shame about this. I'm like, what does this say about me? I moved to Pueblo, Colorado, which I don't know if you know Colorado very well. It's a wonderful state. Pueblo is not, okay? Pueblo is like a really, really bad town to live in. It's not your fancy town. It's just like, okay, I'm going to live here because I'm going to be a single mom. That's all I can afford, right? I'm going to move to Pueblo because that's where my head was at. I can't even live in Boulder, right? How am I going to manage this? And then my head was at like, okay, like child support. How am I going to even find him? Then I need to pay lawyers to go find this guy. Like, oh my God, like government support. My family doesn't live in the country. I have like a few thousands save up, but like nothing, to carry me through any kind of maternity leave. Then, we go through, me and my VA at the time, we go through 3 months of doing the things that all the entrepreneurs think they want to do, they need to do. We launched some courses which didn't sell at all and did the funnels and all these things, and nothing was working. And a lot of it was my mindset, my energy, because when you're in this space and you're operating from a place of fear and gotta get one and need to get one and all these things, nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. And to tell the truth of myself a little bit, I was juicing the victimhood a little bit too. There's this like, oh my gosh, poor me, single mom, right? And then it all sort of, you asked me in a moment, there was like several. One was when I actually went to check out the future daycare for my daughter in Pueblo, right? I was like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to put my baby to daycare, right? So I call this daycare. I set up to do a tour, and I go there. It's it's not a terrible place, but I go there and there's 6 babies literally screaming, and this one teacher just totally overwhelmed. And I would like to tell you that I walked out and I said, hell no, I'm not doing this. But that's not what happened. I actually put down the deposit and I said, I was just totally resigned. This is happening. This is terrible. This is the life that I'm going to have. And at some point, maybe I will work myself out of this, at some point, maybe. Right. So it was really, really bad. And then I go to WIC, which is food stamps for pregnant mothers, right? Because that's what I think I need to do, right? And I stand there for 2 hours. And then they take your blood and they check on you. And then it's like questionnaires and nurses talk to you. I'm like, I'm healthy. What, And then they give you a little Visa card and had like $20 on it that you can spend. And I'm like, what? Like, no. And then I was like, you know what? Like, you have these moments, like I'm a capable person. I have achieved success in the past. I had owned a couple of restaurants and I was in a corporate, but like sometimes when things happen and trauma happened, you just give up on yourself and you're somebody said it, like your 50% becomes your 100%, and so that's the place I was in. And I was like, you know what, this makes no sense. If I can figure this out, if I can dig my way out of this, if I can be the example, it was a little bit ego driven, okay? But I said, if I can dig myself out of this and build a successful business If I can figure this out without any support, any family in the country, no child support, no savings, nothing like that, if I can do it, anybody can, right? So that just became this driving challenge for me, right? And then one thing after another, after another, after another. And, I started working towards something and changing my mindset and flipping out of this, and just series of things that happened. But in a week and a half before Lexi was born, I launched my group coaching program. And about 6 weeks after she was born, we had our first pretty successful launch. And then we scaled to about $1 million first quarter in 2021.
$1 million quarter.
Yep.
I just want the audience to just let that sink in just a little bit.
Yeah.
And well, first, I just have to honor you for being open and vulnerable and sharing that. I know people can't see what we're looking like right now, but literally Iva would tell you my jaw like dropped when she shared part of the story. And there's a lot of people probably thinking like, what person would leave? I mean, there's probably so many questions going through people's minds right now. Like, I mean, how long did she know this person? How does someone just disappear? But again, things happen, and it's how you grow through them. So resiliency is one of those things that it's not taught, it's learned. And you learn to be resilient by going through certain situations. But something I want to dive into this, because I do have a more lighthearted question before we get in. But I want to talk about the mindset, because people don't realize that the 6 inches between our ears it either hurts us or it helps us. And there's a lot of narratives that go through our mind each and every day, right? And you had this narrative, this residing to the fact narrative. This is my life. And you were basically speaking it into existence. Could you have moved to another part? Could you have moved to Colorado Springs? Maybe, but you chose a different town. Could you have made it work somewhere else? Maybe. Could you have found a different daycare? Sure. But it's all about the narrative, and a lot of people, and this is the big thing that I want people to understand right now. What thoughts are you telling yourself right now that you're residing the fact to, and you've spoken those things into existence that are not bringing you joy?
Exactly.
So before we dive into that, over those 30 states that you saw, which was the most unexpected, amazing state that you went to?
Oh my gosh. 2, Alabama and Florida.
Why?
I just love the green and the nature during the time of the year I was there. And Florida, oh my God. The state parks are so amazing. There's just so many places. I want to go back to Florida at some point.
Which state had the best food?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't have a strong preference on that one.
Okay. I'm a food person, that's why I ask. But
okay.
So let's dig into the narratives. Right? As entrepreneurs, listen, it's not an easy journey to get from point A to point B. There's a lot of stories that come up in our head. We spend a lot of time by ourselves, so we have a lot of time to think. And the imposter syndrome, social media doesn't help, because all we're doing is comparing ourselves to other people and their journeys. How does one begin to shift those narratives from thoughts of non-deserving to thoughts of abundance?
Yeah, I love this. I'll give you another story. As I was going through this, when I had my I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be a statistic. I actually went to the Walmart in Pueblo, and I got this 8.5 by 11 little whiteboard, these little tiny ones. And I put 7-figure single happy mom on this, and I put it in my shower, because I'm like, if it's not in the shower, I'm not staring at it when I'm putting conditioner in my hair. It's just not going to happen. Right. And I was forced to stare at this every single day and start creating different story. Right. And then There's so much more to mindset. I could talk your ear off for the next hours and hours. But the first thing was like when you're digging yourself out a hole, I was literally religious about my mindset. I was like, before that, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would go on internet and apply for 130 jobs because that's how scared I was. I'm not going to be able to provide. This entrepreneurship is irresponsible, right? Like as a parent, you need to have a stable income and all this programming, running a show, right? When I realized, no, I'm not going to do this, it was religiously doing the opposite. Literally gratitude eight times a day. And I'm not kidding. When I went shopping, I'm like, oh, thank God I get to spend money on this instead of this, like, oh my God, I'm spending money on this, right? So that's like the beginning mindset transformation, because you have to sort of like military style flip yourself out of that. But then there's a lot more transformation that happens. You talked about resilience. And the truth is, most of us, there's so much to it than our thoughts and ideas and beliefs. Most of us, what we do is that we manage our life to prevent ourselves from feeling certain uncomfortable emotions. So we do a lot of mindset work, right? We do so many different things. We do, the NLP and the yoga and the meditation, and we do the EST and the landmark and the Hoffman and the EFT and the AFT, and just like so many different things, right? It's crazy. Like how many things I downloaded about 300 books on Audible, right? To like manage myself, right? It's endless, and ancestral clearing and IFS and journeying and gratitude and journaling and Gestalt and you name it, right? And at some point you come back to, but wait, like I'm still kind of doing the same things. The minute I stop doing it the military style, I still fall back to the same cycles, right? And then it comes back to like, you actually have to do the actual healing, right? And what happens is that we're living our life to prevent ourselves from feeling certain sensations, which we call emotions, right? We don't want to feel the disappointment, right? So when our launch fails, we don't want to do the next launch because we don't want to feel the disappointment, right? We don't want to get on the next sales call because we don't want to feel the rejection, right? We don't want to go live on Facebook because we don't want to feel the embarrassment of nobody watching, or whatever it is. So we have very little resilience, or lack of resilience is having very little capacity to actually be with these sensations, right? So most of us, what we're doing is repressing and pushing these things away. And if you want to build, well, not obviously you, but anybody who's listening, I tell them, if you want to build a 7-figure business or multi-six or whatever, you need to increase your capacity to do that. You have to have the resilience, the sense of safety to be able to do that. You need to have the capacity to have 100 clients in your program, right? How do you do that? You go to what's hard. You go to the emotionally difficult things, and you become very comfortable with feeling any kind of emotion, however much it hurts. You go right into it, right through it, and you sit with it. And that's the only way you actually dissolve it. Does that make sense?
Completely. And it's playing it safe doesn't get you anywhere.
Mm-mm.
Being comfortable all the time doesn't get you anywhere. It's all the what ifs, there's a saying that Les Brown talks about, is that so many people are just tiptoeing around life to just arrive at their grave safely.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't want to disrupt anything. I don't want people to know what I'm doing. I just want to pretend like I'm invisible, right?
Mm-hmm. So crazy.
And it is crazy because no one wakes up saying, hey, I want to live a mediocre life. Everybody wants to live this abundant and prosperous life. Mm-hmm. Going through the process and the transition that you did, going from being a woman to a mother in a very short span of time, what have you learned most about going from a woman to a mother that has helped you in your business today?
Sometimes it's really a great asset when you have very little time in your business, right? Because, like you just said, people, and you probably see it with some of the entrepreneurs around you, the more time on their hands they have, the more they will do the safe stuff, right? The working behind the scenes, the hiding, the content, the course creation, the video recording. It never amounts to anything, right? It's literally just like the hiding tactics, right? Honestly, for me, being a single mom was the biggest blessing. It was so amazing, because now I had 2-3 hours a day when Lexi was born, and I still had to make money. I was still digging myself out of the hole, but I did not have time to be making decisions. Do I want to do this? I didn't have time to perfect anything. I didn't have time to even proofread my emails. If I had 5 minutes to send an email out to my audience, that was 5 minutes I had. That was it. I did not have time to overthink. So it actually played in my favor, because I think there's two kinds of people. I see it with our clients. I see two camps, and all of us have one thing in common. We try to control our world in some ways. We don't have a lot of trust in the divine, and we want to control our world. Does that make sense? Now, half of us do it through checking the boxes, making decisions really quickly, doing the doing, right? And as long as we're in action, we're good, right? We're comfortable. We're in action, we're checking the boxes, we're doing the thing, right? I have a lot of clients like that. Now, what happens when they get disappointed, something doesn't work? They get crushed and they can't pull themselves out of it. They just get crushed, right? And they go through the next spaghetti on the wall. So they get busy with something, checking the boxes, doing the thing, block their calendar within the next set of things, right? And they get very comfortable as long as they're in action, they're making decisions, right? And then they get crashed again, right? So it's like this and like this and like this, right? Until they wake up and they realize, oh my gosh, I have been a control freak, right? And I actually want to live a life of joy, right? And I want to enjoy what am I doing? And I want to be coming from a place of love with my clients, not from a place of like getting the next client, getting to the next revenue goal and all that stuff, right? And then we have the other half of the population. I don't know if it's exactly half, right? Don't quote me in the statistics, but other portion of the population of the entrepreneurs who control their world by watching more workshops, gathering more information, proofreading everything, perfecting everything, making sure their website is perfect. And that's how they find safety, right? So we each find safety somewhere, but we need to look in the mirror and see, how am I controlling my experience? And to move to the next level as an entrepreneur, right? Your business is going to show it to you, right? If you're a super doer, your launches are going to stop working at some point so that the world can show you what you need to let go of, right? Because the world is a mirror. It's your business is showing exactly where you need to grow spiritually, right? So at some point, it's going to come to a head, and you need to look yourself in a mirror and say, wow, I need to let go of this. I need to shed this snake skin. Because what we came here to do, and I don't know if you believe this, but I do. Like, I don't think we came here to build business or accumulate or save up for our 401k, right? We came here to let go of a lot of stuff so that we can be as loving and as kind towards other people as we can be, and and with that comes a lot of joy, right? And so our business is going to throw all kinds of things at us. It's all perfect, right? Every single one of those, like clients complaining and wanting to get out of the program or whatever, employees quitting, all those fun things, right? It's all happening for us so that we can see, okay, this is the snake skin that I have to let go of. I have to be just willing to feel it. I have to be willing to tell the truth about who I've become. I have to be willing to feel it. I have to be willing to process it and see, okay, I have been this. I have been a control freak. I have been really, really fearful that the next person is going to quit, right? Speaking all from experience, by the way. And I need to have the courage to step into the next version of me, wherever I am, to move my business to the next level. Right. So that has sort of been like my mindset journey, like always looking at what is my business showing me? What are my clients showing me? What are my prospects showing me? And it's brutal sometimes. It's brutal, even at 7 figures or over 7 figures, whatever, it's still brutal. Like, now you're dealing with a whole bunch of clients that are not always happy, So,
things happen for a reason and for a purpose. Nothing ever happened. Everyone thinks, oh, it's happening by accident. No, there's no accidents. And something that I also say is that your failures always open the doors to your successes. So you have to learn how to fail first before you learn how to succeed. And it's interesting, Nancy and I wrapped our final launch of the year in October. And it was for one of our lower ticket programs that we have a posting platform. And, we're in that mindset that if we don't deliver the value, people won't invest, right? So whether we're offering a low ticket or high ticket, we go all in. We do 4 or 5 days of training, and then we open the doors. And, halfway through this last launch, Nancy and I came to the realization that where people are in certain aspects of their business and the investments that they can make, people will gladly invest spending 5 days, an hour a day with you, just as much as if they spent 90 minutes in one shot learning the same stuff in a condensed way where you're still providing value. And she said to me, she goes, we have to kind of let go of this underlying fear that if we don't give enough value, people will never invest. Whatever the most valuable commodity we have to offer another person is our time, because that is something we never get back, especially when the time that you're giving someone, you're not asking for anything back in return. You're just giving it, because my belief is the more that you give, the more that you get. And there's so many people that they have a challenging time wrapping their head and their arms and their heart and their soul around that statement, because they just get into this desperation mode where they need to close the sale and they got to sell someone, they got to close someone. I need money coming in. Listen, I say to my wife all the time, Nance, I just feel money circulating around us. And it will drop when it's ready to drop. And until that point, we got to keep moving forward. We keep building relationships. We keep connecting. We keep pouring value, and we keep being ourselves. And everything works out in the end. Unexpected things happen all the time. And, my wife was very transparent about this. She went through cancer earlier this year and successfully beat it. She had surgery and everything was removed. And we learned, and she's only 36. So for someone to go through that at such a young age, it was a mirror turning moment for the both of us. And we realized how short life really is. And going back to your point, are you building something towards a pension or a 401k or a retirement fund? So you're thinking 30 years from now. What about today? What about tomorrow? What are you doing to enjoy the moment now? I always go back to one of the first personal development books I read called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And he talks about that there's 3 types of people in this world. There's people that live in fear. There's people that live in anxiety. And there's people that live in peace. And he went on to say that the people that live in fear are the ones that are always creating stories and are afraid of the future. The what ifs. Oh my God, what if this is going to happen? Well, if it hasn't happened yet, it's just a story. Then you have the individuals that live in anxiety, which means they're replaying those negative self-talking tapes of their past over and over again, blocking themselves from living in the present time. And then there's those people that live in peace. And the people that live in peace are living in the only time that we have that we can actually control. And it's the present moment. It's the now. And it's a deep concept, but the more that you focus on living right now, and And it's a great exercise. So when you start having things and thoughts crossing your brain waves, ask yourself, has this happened yet? Is this a future story I'm telling myself that I do not know to be true? Or is this something from my past that I need to let go of that is preventing me to stopping from living presently right now? And the more, and just like you were practicing gratitude 8 times a day, the more that you can practice being present, I promise you, if you're listening to this, I promise you, you will have a whole new outlook on life. You will start to realize all of the things and the people and the stories that do not serve you, that are actually weighing you down. And there's an old saying, how are you going to get to the gate for the flight you're about to miss when you're carrying all the baggage from your life with you in both of your hands? Drop the baggage so you can run forward.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? And a lot has happened for you in the last 2 years. You know, July was 2 years since this moment of, holy shit, like this is now what's on my plate.
Yeah.
Out of all of the things that you had to grow through in these last 2 years, which lesson do you think has been and will continue to be the most impactful one for you that has enabled you to do what you're doing today?
I think is the biggest one is go to what's hard, avoid nothing. And I don't mean go work 60-hour or work hard, in a sense of work 60-hour week. What I mean by that, when you pick up your phone and go to your email, there's that one email or that one message you're avoiding, and that, that message actually, when you go to these things that are difficult, or be it daily activities or whatever it is, the things that scare us the most, that make us feel the most vulnerable, when we're willing to deal with it head on and feel everything we need to feel around it and move through that and stop avoiding it, we grow very, very quickly. I've had some really, really difficult moments even this year, and of course last year, be it with clients, be it with team members, some very difficult news sometimes. And, as your business grows, you get accused of stuff that you're like, wow, this is so painful. This is so painful. Right now we have about 120 clients in our programs, right? And at one point we had 11 team members on the staff, and that was a little bit too much for me, quite honestly. I was like, I don't want to manage so many people. But it was like a constant, but the more I tried to run away from it, there was a point where I was at the point of a burnout, right? And I'm willing to admit this now. This was in April or May, and it went all the way to like June or July. And it was because I was like, sort of like running, it was like dodging things all the time. And, what is the next problem? Where is this going to come from? What is going to come next out of the left field? Who is going to complain? What is the next Facebook ad account that is going to get shut down? What is, and what is, and I started feeling this sense of pressure. Right. And I think everybody goes through that when they get to a certain level. It's just so much that you're dealing with, and this program and that program. And I felt like I was just not loving life at that point. And that's when I started doing so much emotional release work and going right through these things. Somebody sends an email I don't like. Let me stick my nose in that. Let me go right into it, right into this difficult situation, feel it. And right now, like just a few months later, I get an email from a client who is struggling. I don't feel the fear. I don't feel the anxiety. I don't feel the resentment. I don't feel the shame. I feel love. I can go like, okay, this person is struggling. Send a message to my team. Everybody sends this person love, let me talk to them. Let's get them back on track, let's go, because I don't, but it was months of working through this and actually be willing to go to what's difficult.
So obviously you are highly skilled at your craft and mindset, and I would be foolish not to have you talk about some of the programs that you have. You have group coaching and systems in place for people that are really to take themselves and their businesses to the next level. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about, what you've created, what you've curated, and, who are the types of people that you best serve?
I so appreciate it. You know, I work with entrepreneurs. Anyway, we have different cohorts from beginners all the way to entrepreneurs who are already at six figures going to seven. And we help them. It's probably 70% mindset, 30% tactics and strategies. And that is because I used to be like this is why having you come teach in our program, right? Because I used to teach a lot of tactics, a lot of strategies. And I found out that my heart, my soul is really in this work, growing through this stuff, right? And I have experts like you, like, come teach in our program, like, like you are just brilliant at what you do. What your presentation is so good, right? But my passion is really this, becoming as joyful and as loving as you can, growing through the stuff, the mindset, the emotional stuff. But I think the best way, we're not doing any, just like you guys, we're not doing a whole lot of launching, but we have an amazing retreat, free retreat on January 10th that we're going to be inviting people into. It's going to be on Zoom. It's probably going to be 7 days, although I'm not entirely sure. We're just going to play it by ear. It's going to be pretty experiential. We're going to take people through some of the techniques that I teach to actually like be able to release some of this stuff, tell yourself the truth about who you are, totally accept yourself. And then you start the manifestation process. Once you tell the truth where you're at, then you can manifest something different. So it's going to be a beautiful experience. We have entrepreneurs are so crazy successful. I'll tell you that we have people who have gotten this growth faster than I have. I mean, some of it is because they're not a single mom to an infant, but so
a kid definitely changes things. I totally get that. Well, the good thing is, when this is airing, it's a couple weeks away. So if you want to get the new year started off with a bang and attend a first class free retreat online, it's a no-brainer. So for anyone that's listening, all the information to that retreat will be in the show notes and the description of this episode. So you do not have to look far. Highly suggest and advise you to sign up for that. So Iva, as we wrap up, I have one final question for you before we close out. And I cannot wait to hear the answer to this because I love everything that is coming out of your mouth. What does success truly mean to you? Now, I want a two-parter. Pre where you are now. So the Iva that was, doing these small talks and driving around the country. What did success look like for her then? And what does success look like for you now?
Yeah. Is it okay if I give you like a little bit of a longer answer? So have you heard of the map of consciousness, scale of consciousness? Not a lot of people have. It's like by Dr. Hawkins, 0 and 1,000 different levels.
Yeah,
different
the frequencies.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I used to be
enlightenment is at the very top. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So I love this thing. It's by it's called The Map of Consciousness by Dr. David R. Hawkins for anybody who wants to look it up. So you have different levels of consciousness between 0 and 1,000, thousands being our avatars, right? Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, whatever. And near 0, you'll find like Jack the Ripper or something, right? Not very conscious humans, right? And he has it separated by the levels below 200, where are non-integrous, non-truthful, right? All the negative emotions are there, the shame, the grief, the apathy, the desire, the neediness, the gettingness, the wantingness, and pride, right? And then over 200, you have the willingness, forgiveness, acceptance, courage, and then reason, and then love, right? The funny thing is that I thought I was doing okay, right? I was showing up, I was teaching workshops called the serve method. I'm like, we're serving, we're teaching people how to serve and all this stuff, but where you are at with your consciousness is not how you're showing up on the outside, but it's what's motivating you, what's driving you, right? And for me, a lot of it was fear. A lot of it was getting the next one, getting to a certain goal. And it got, even when we crossed the $1 million mark, it became so obvious because it was so about money. And I think once you start making a lot of money, it starts becoming more obvious, right? Because when you're broke, you have a good excuse. Well, I have no money, so it's okay to want some money, right? But when you start making money and you're like, I need more, I need more, I need more. And then you're like, wait a minute, but I'm still not happy, So that's when I realized that, while I could speak, like I was somebody at the level of whatever, I was so driven by the neediness, wantingness, cravingness, pride. Like I want to look successful on the outside and all those things. And it was really, really difficult to let go of that and say, that's not how I want to operate. I need to shake this snake skin off too, because, in order to truly make a difference with people and transform something, your intention has to be pure. And, I don't know if you ever had an experience with a business, maybe it was a retreat or something, or yoga center or whatever, and you just feel loved. You just feel so taken care of. There's like nobody trying to you don't feel like anybody has an agenda, right? And I said, this is the kind of business I want to lead, where it's not all about me, myself, and I, and how I operate. And I want to create a we consciousness, so it's still in the process. I still catch myself, I still catch myself like, oh my gosh, revenues and this and that. And that's all fine too. As CEOs, we have to take that CFO hat on too, right? But it's so important not to get stuck there. And with branding and messaging, and as entrepreneurs, we go there really quickly, like how do I create the perfect copy to trick people into taking some action, right? And then you're like, wow, this actually doesn't bring me joy. It's like, fine, I can do it all day long, but what really brings me joy is the transformation of the people in my programs, right? So that's kind of been my long-winded answer.
I love that. And I loved this entire conversation, and I feel that it can go on for another 2 hours, but I do want to respect the time, not only of you, but the listeners. And Iva, thank you so much for your time, your heart, your vulnerability, your transparency, your love, your gifts, your knowledge that you shared with my audience today. Just truly grateful for you, and even more grateful that you spent this time with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So everyone listening, again, all of the information on Iva's retreat will be in the show notes and the description of this episode. If you want to start the new year right, obviously it's coming up in a couple of weeks. It is perfect timing. It's divine timing. Things happen for a reason, for a purpose. And that is why you're hearing this episode. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.